we're not represented.
Right.
So people are not seeing us. And, that's symbolic annihilation right there. The term symbolic annihilation says that if you do not see yourself in the media that you consume, then you must not matter. So if you're not mattering to yourself based on media that you're consuming, then you're certainly not mattering to other people.
So welcome to the Nugget. I'm your host, Joanes, and that's 2 syllables, Joie and Ness.
Hey, I'm your co-host, Kara.
And I'm your co-host doing the co-most, JP.
Today, we have the amazing pleasure of welcoming to our show, Miss Elaine Del Valle. Welcome to the Nugget.
I'm the guest doing the best guest.
All right.
Okay,
Yes.
off to the
I
amazing.
mirrored that.
I see it. I feel it.
She is living up to her creativity. She is proudly referred to as an actor's director. Miss Elaine Del Valle is a tenacious award-winning writer-director as well as actor-producer and CSA casting, whose films have been supported by the Sundance Institute, Knight Foundation, and Fractured Atlas. She has casted talented actors in hundreds of projects under her company, Del Valle Productions and Casting, and has produced over 50 film titles and counting. And I'm sure that's probably when we looked, but I'm sure there's way more than that or more. Her short films, Me 3.765 and Princess Cut, have aired on HBO Max, and her most recent film project, Brownsville, Bred, adapted from her award-winning one-woman stage play depicting her true Latin coming-of-age story, premiered at South by Southwest 2022. It ultimately won the South by Southwest Audience Award and also just won the Series Fest.
Yay.
Congratulations.
And I just have to
Clap.
correct you on the name of the film, Me 3.769. And the reason why that's so important to me is because there are 3.769 billion women in the world, and that's why the title is that.
So I stand corrected. Me 3.769.
That's right.
I stand corrected. Elaine spends her free time speaking at youth art programs in underserved communities, including one created by her daughter.
Yes. They
Serving-
actually just got the Carnegie Mellon Foundation grant for
Wow.
what she's doing over there. So she's doing really
What is
beautiful
what
stuff.
is the
I keep asking her that. So she runs something called University, along with her partners, and Grow Brownsville.
okay.
So she's a part of all of that action-based stuff, helping the community be the best that it can be. And yeah, I'm really proud of her.
And finishing, you have a passion for serving marginalized communities.
Well, what I want to do is just really bring the authentic voice of that living life and human to screen, to just let people know them, because to know them is to love them. We get a lot of people representing us that are not us. The best thing any artist could ever bring to a project is to really bring their own true experiences to it. That's what I think that I can offer best to the community, is just being honest and giving my life experiences to everything, every story that I want to tell. Yeah, I just want to make it honest and let people see them. I mean, look at my family on paper, and you basically want to throw away the paper. No, I want to know those people. But on my paper, they are quite beautiful, and everybody loves them, and you root for them, and it humanizes them.
Are you enjoying the conversation? Please like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom to share? We'd love to hear from you on the nuggets you've learned. Please comment below.
I'll tell any story, and I'll tell it honestly and truthfully and get to everywhere that I want to be artistically. But if I'm writing it, if I'm producing it, if I have to be in charge of the stories that I tell, then those are the ones that I'm working toward, because those are the ones that I'm going to tell the best.
So tell us, that's a good segue into your experience growing up in Brownsville and Langston Hughes projects. one of 4 children. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, Lord. Where do I begin? Well, Brownsville is predominantly Black, right? So, like, I didn't want to be white. I didn't want to be Latina. I wanted to be
So that's
Black.
already, right? Because it's like, I'm
Yeah.
like, go ahead. Yes.
Well, I just wanted to fit in. So basically, I'm just a fish out of water wherever I am. But that also has helped me to be adaptable as an adult. But being in Brownsville, I grew up in the Langston Hughes projects, which they are the tallest buildings in East New York.
Okay.
So they were also like the toughest buildings in East New York. Like you don't walk through the Langston
Brownsville,
Hughes
yeah,
projects. You
yeah.
got to take another way.
That's right. That's
So,
right.
so that kind of thing also, that made me feel proud when I was growing up because I felt like, look at me, I'm so soft, right? But I'm like the toughest, the baddest. Langston, you don't mess with us. So it was a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Where like you're super proud of it. When you look at it a different way, where like you're having a party and your sister's inviting people from high school to come, and you're like, let us know what train you're gonna be on so that we could wait for you there and walk
Yeah.
you up because you cannot come up alone.
Yeah.
And there was somebody who did not understand that lesson. We told them, do not go down alone. If you need cigarettes, you need to tell us. We need to walk you down.
Yeah.
We need to come down with you. And somebody didn't listen to us, and they definitely got jacked. And it ruined the whole party. So it's like it's really a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah,
like you love
yeah,
it,
yeah.
a part of it, and then you realize the realities of it. But you grow up in a way that you're always like looking for things out of place, you got the eyes on the back of your head.
What's interesting is like you said, like, because
I just wanted to fit in, which I think
Yeah.
is something very relatable
Yeah.
because wherever you live,
Yeah.
where whoever your school friends are, that's who you want to be, no
Yeah.
matter who you are.
Yeah.
Right? No matter where you are, no matter who you are, that and if you look like you belong there and everybody feels like you belong, that's a whole other experience.
Yeah.
So that just wasn't my experience.
Yes.
But there are other places where those people where, if they grew up in a place where they feel totally comfortable, they might go somewhere else and then feel uncomfortable. So I feel like that's a relatable experience no matter what.
Brownsville today, right? How familiar are you with Brownsville today? Because I know you have a lot of people who may be from somewhere, but they may not, be as familiar with all the changes. And Brooklyn's been changing.
Yes.
Your
Not
Brownsville
Brownsville as much, not like the Langston Hughes projects. It's funny, when I went to, so we just filmed Brownsville Bred, a portion of it, actually in Brownsville.
Right.
Like in front of the
Beautifully shot,
Langston
by the
Hughes
way.
project. Thank you so much. I agree. I agree. I love it. So we shot it in front of my old projects in my school, in my elementary school.
Wow.
So we went there with the head of community affairs, police department, NYPD, whatever, Nietzsche, or whatever it is.
Nice.
And then we went we hooked up with the head of the building, and they were wonderful. And we're scouting, we're like, oh, go on over here, look over here. What about this? What about, I want the. And then, Elaine, it was Jesse Clark from my elementary school. Also, I hooked up with my old neighbor. He's not there anymore, but his cousin now lives in that apartment. So like my family has since gone out, but I'm still actually, I try to be a part of the neighborhood as much as I can. And every year we actually do some give back to the community that we don't talk about a lot.
Do you have an audio podcast? Are you looking to grow your audience by expanding into video? Partner with Prosper Digital TV, a virtual and full-service video production company with a dedicated team ready to expand your podcast into video. Visit www.prosperdigital.tv or call 718-622-0062 to get started today.
It's called the Community Police Relations Foundation. No police are on it. It's a foundation by other people who are meant to bring police and community together in positive interactions. And so we do a lot of work through them, giving away like computers and, knapsack school stuff, school supplies. So we try to do that at least twice a year. And like when they have community events, which was such a big deal for me when I was a kid, when we used to have our block party and everything was like all the talent would be there. The talent show is my favorite day of the year because there's so much talent in Brownsville, so much singing and dancing talent, but they don't take classes. They don't, they aren't encouraged toward the arts. I believe that we need more art programs in places like Brownsville in order to allow people to understand that should they desire to be in this work life, in this chosen career path, that it's available, it's open for them. I'm old now, but I'm older now than I was, certainly. But back then, there was a lot less of it even than there is today. But I still feel like there's not enough of it today.
First of all, you are wonderful to listen to and to watch. And thank you so much for sharing your energy with us. Just from meeting you and hearing what you share, community is a big word that keeps coming up from you. Would you, or what would you say your community's given to you?
I'm not trying to get anything from it.
Or done for you, I should
But
say.
I mean, I believe that everyone's struggle, it's how you look at it, because that from there is where your life lessons come. So everybody has a different struggle. Even, wealthy people in wealthy neighborhoods, they have a different struggle. But all of those things really form them as human beings.
Right.
For me, it's so funny, because even in my stage play, there's an attempted rape that happened to me when I was 12 years old. I was on the way to the train station, and, we're told to look in back of us to see, who's gonna grab us. And it was actually the guy in front of me that grabbed me, right? So what do you learn? It's not what you think. It might be something else, right? It's not the tall guy that looks like he's threatening. It might be the short guy, the guy that's just your height. And then we walked for blocks and blocks. It was broad daylight. Nobody was helping me. I was crying, but I was afraid to scream, because he said, I got a gun. If I take it out, I'm gonna shoot. I said to him, if you got a gun, you should take it out. I don't know why I said that, but the reason?
You don't know why.
I just had him talking.
I'm sure he was like, okay.
But you wouldn't imagine that that's a question that somebody would, that's a demand that somebody would say. Like, if you got a gun, then you should take it out.
Well,
Then you should
especially-
show it to me. You should
Correct.
show it to me. He said, if I take it out, then I'm gonna shoot you. I didn't believe that he had a gun because he wasn't showing it to me. Right? So I was just trying to keep him talking, and I was trying to convince him not to rape me. And he told me he was gonna rape me. And we're walking and walking, and then as we're walking, we passed the old school that my father actually was a janitor at, but it was all boarded up and closed down by then. When I was a kid, I remember this woman coming home from a discotheque at night, almost raped and brought into that park, into the park of the school that was all closed down. And so as I was passing it, I kept thinking about her. And she told her assailant that she had her period, and so not to rape her, because she was trying to turn him off. So I started telling him, I got my period. I was telling him everything. And then we get to where I know there's no people that are gonna help me there. We get by the number 3 train station down under Livonia. It's all very dark. There's a lot of abandoned buildings, a lot of, where you go to just shoot up heroin, a lot of, just not good things going on. I was pretty sure if I got there wasn't a chance that anybody would ever help me. That's when I started hitting him with my book bag as hard as I could. And I was like, no. And I just kept hitting. And I actually had an outer body experience. I woke up and realized, now I didn't know that I was hitting him. So I woke up and I realized the person that was hitting this guy, I had my knees on his shoulders. I was 12 years old.
Wow.
I was just scratching him and hitting him and scratching him and hitting him. And I didn't realize that was me. So I had this outer body experience, and then when I realized that, I got up, I got my book bag, and I went up the train station stairs, and I looked back at him, and he was running away, and I became so happy. Now, the reason why I tell this story like this is because you don't know what you're going to do until you're put up into that position. Everybody could say, I would do this, I would do that, but you actually don't know until you have the experience. And so you ask the question, what I got from the neighborhood. An experience like that, I know what I would do. And so knowing yourself helps you to build confidence and know the things, not to say that I was all, healed and ready by then, because there's a lot more things that happened throughout my life. My father was a heroin addict that ended up contracting HIV and dying of AIDS. And that, for me, was a lot of healing going on. That needed a lot of healing. A part of telling the story of Brownsville Bred is definitely the story of the daughter and the father, and seeing that in a way that could be positive for her future. And that is what being in Brownsville gave me. It gave me this amazing platform that now I could say Brownsville Bred, never ran, never will. And I couldn't do that otherwise, right? Nobody says Canarsie, see? No.
You know, I had to represent because I heard out Brownsville you were. I was like, oh, word? All right. Okay.
I ain't never scared.
Well, no, I'm always scared and I'm never scared.
No, that's a good seg because you mentioned your father was a heroin addict, and you just referenced that I'm never scared, but I'm always scared.
Yeah.
It's almost this like there's this duality that exists in your life growing up in that household.
Well, I have to say, I love my apartment. I feel like if I went back there today, it might look a lot smaller, but we had a 3-bedroom apartment, a 1-bathroom, a kitchen and living room. I recreated it for the film as much as I could. I actually tried to get into the projects, but we didn't have the right insurance to actually literally get in there. But going into our next phases, we will have that right insurance. You know, it takes money.
Yeah.
But we will have that moving forward.
That's dope.
And I'm not sure where I'm going to shoot yet, but I know I'm going to be filming outside of the Langston Hughes projects again. I have to because I've already established that. Being in Brownsville, growing up in the apartment, I love my apartment. My mother used to have food for us every single day. Not everybody had that. I remember my brothers used to play baseball, and there would be people that couldn't even go inside of their apartment, and it could be raining outside, cold, you know, whatever it was outside, and they couldn't even go because they didn't have their parents there for them. They didn't have their mother there for them. And my mother would say, come up, and they would be loving up on some, you know, Spanish rice and beans. So I have good memories. I met a lot of great people there, a lot of personalities, you know, a lot of personalities. One woman was like, she thought she was a psychic. You know, just imagine how many people living on that in the one building. 22 stories, 8 apartments per floor. You know, that's how the book, the play, the movie, it all starts with that. 301 Sutter Avenue between Rockaway and Mother Gaston, Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York. The Langston Hughes projects are the 3 tallest buildings in all of East New York, each 22 stories high with 8 apartments per floor, and whose average household has more than 6 people. That's more than 3,000 people living on one city block. That's where I live. So like, that's how you even enter the world. And I want to give people that feeling of like, yeah, this is what it was like, and really bring them there.
Are you enjoying the conversation? Please like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom to share? We'd love to hear from you on the nuggets you've learned. Please comment below.
They look at people from there as not there. And you had asked earlier about, you know, did I look like I belonged as an artist, as an actor going for roles, not being allowed the opportunity to audition for things with grit because I physically embodied this. That was a true frustration for me. The more committed I became as an artist, the more frustrating that was for me. And so that's what really turned me behind the camera, behind the scenes, to the pen, to write those experiences that you cannot take away.
How did that lead to a one-woman stage play? I don't think people understand just how difficult that is. What was that process like?
I never thought that I would be doing a one-woman stage play.
Look at that.
So it surprised you too. All right.
It totally surprised me too, yeah. I had seen a one-woman stage play that I was like, wow, that looks amazing. Oh, I would love to do that one day. But I never thought that I would be able to do it. I had been studying acting under a legendary theater actor. He founded the American Place Theater, Win Handman. Studied there for a number of years, and it was intense scene study, professional acting class. The actors in it were amazing. Everyone worked every day, and we met twice a week for like 3 to 4 hours a night, and we would stay there until we were done. Like every single person had to work, and he would assign scenes, and then in between that, we had to rehearse, right? So it was like a 5-day a week, you know, we're rehearsing 5 days a week at least. But when Win would take hiatus, we were all so used to doing this work that we love so much that we felt empty and robbed of the experience. And so I started with some other people from my acting class, I started a writer's group, and we just started writing. And I decided to start writing my milestones. And I wrote this little story about this girl that I was in an elevator and I had $1 and I was like, And my friends, my acting colleagues said, what was the significance of the dollar? And I was like, because I had one. I had one. And it struck me as like, wow, they really, like where I thought that was obvious, they could not even get to that understanding. And so that was really interesting to me. And so I continued to explore the writing of my milestones to make them see me more clearly. And they were my friends. I love them. But then they started to see me more clearly. And then when Win came back, I was like, hey, Win, can I just put this on his feet? I've been working on it. And then he said to me, you must keep writing this. I'm used to working that hard all the time anyway. Now I'm working alone that hard. And it was actually easier to work alone because for me, I would have to drive back and forth in and out of the city. I lived on Long Island. So that was actually harder. You had to be real committed to drive every day, drive back every night. It was at least an extra 2 hours every time. Yeah, but when he said that to me, it literally wrote itself. And I wrote the milestones that formed me. And I understood scenes and what made good drama and comedy. First, it's introducing the world, and then it's getting to the story, getting very specific. Taking that map and just going like this till you get to that incident that really changed you and changed your outlook. Not always your outlook, but you thought you were living one life and then you realized that you were living another. So what better drama is there than that? With the one woman show, I kept it at truth. Brownsville Bred memoir, that was all truth. I definitely told more stories than I did in the one woman show because I felt like it belonged and it could be there. But for the film, I learned a lot about writing through the Sundance Institute. And I really tried to follow the emotional truth and the action. The action of my father being an addict that had to leave, that I discovered. And then my brother had told this story that I didn't even remember. But when the cops came to our door and they were searching our house and then they had us all lined up, I didn't even remember that. But my brother remembered it so clearly. I was like, oh, I got to use that. That's going to be beautiful. My father used to have this whole Puerto Rican flag against the whole wall. It was so embarrassing to me. And thank God it was on the inside wall. So like when you walked in, you had to look left. Otherwise, when you opened the door, you would see it was so embarrassing to me because it was the whole wall. So now I'm able to have this film depicting this beautiful home with the Puerto Rican flag up there. And, a lot of people don't know that before 1952, if you had a Puerto Rican flag that you were waving or showing or owned, you could be arrested for that. Yeah, it was considered insurrection against the United States. Yeah, because Puerto Rico was colonized, right? It still is a colony, a commonwealth.
Right.
Yeah.
People don't realize how important that Puerto Rican flag was to even people today going on the Puerto Rican Day Parade, right? People are waving, it's all over with a Puerto Rican flag, and you think like, oh, that's so hokey, like stop that already. And then you really understand that's because they couldn't show it. They would be arrested. So when I put that flag on the wall of Brownsville, I put it on my social media today, I was like, just know, like, we would have been criminals.
Right.
We would have been arrested. For every frame, 24 frames per second.
Telling your story of Brownsville Bred and being in your one-woman stage play, which I still cannot believe. My memory's terrible, so I'm like, yes, you're amazing. But being now in front of the camera with your very, very colorful resume, how is it different? Or can you share a little bit more about how it's different from being now behind the camera and doing your work as a director?
Well, I still do both, right? So I was just on Queens for ABC. I had a recurring guest star. I was on The Resident.
Nice.
So I'm still doing both. I can't believe it, but I'm still doing both. And I like it. Actually, when I'm acting in front of the camera, I find that the easiest work. And it's truly a joy. It's still a joy for me because I can memorize lines like there's nobody's business. And I love being in character and I love doing it. I don't care what I look like. It's not the vanity of it. For Queens, they aged me. I was bad. The cameraman said to me, I'm so sorry that they did this to you. And I said to him, you know what? I'd rather be here looking like this than anywhere else looking like anything else. So it was a joy doing that. And then I got to learn from the people behind the camera as well. I've already been directing for a number of years. And I showed up and I direct as well. Oh, yeah, we know about you. Talking to the crew, I feel like I'm a part of them more than anything else. I just want to do more of it. And it's super hard especially for women and people of color. It's just really hard because a lot of it is, I don't hate because of it. I don't blame people because when I look at a young Latina who's maybe from Brownsville, I'm going to want to help her up, right? Because I understand her more and I can relate to her. So that's what I try to tell people, like, understand, like, you look at you as a younger person, you want to help that younger you, right? That's all somebody else is doing. The problem is that they've been up there so long that's who they're helping. It's like, nepotism, or like, you see the person in you. All we have to do is continue to make our films and continue to make people like us a part of it and continue to help us be seen in front of the camera as well. And that's all we can do.
For sure. That's another note I have for you. I love what you're doing and giving opportunities and making spaces for Latina and Latino actors. I'm straying away from Latinx for now.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter to me.
And for women, because there is such a need, and I was hearing what you were saying about some of the statistics in the representation. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah. I should have brushed up on it.
No, it's okay.
But
This ain't live.
okay, 18.7% of the population is Latinx. We are represented 7.1% of the times as directors, 7.1% of the times as actors, and 5.3% of the time as writers. And as far as I know, that is absolutely correct. Just those percentages, we so far under index. We're not represented. Right. So people are not seeing us. And, that's symbolic annihilation right there. The term symbolic annihilation says that if you do not see yourself in the media that you consume, then you must not matter. So if you're not mattering to yourself based on media that you're consuming, then you're certainly not mattering to other people. I deeply believe in that because, I remember when I was a kid, I was 11 years old, first movie I ever got taken to, Scarface. And I was like so happy to see a Latino up there. I thought Al Pacino was Latino. I didn't know, but I was so happy about it.
Are you enjoying the conversation? Please like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom to share? We'd love to hear from you on the nuggets you've learned. Please comment below.
Do you have an audio podcast? Are you looking to grow your audience by expanding into video? Partner with Prosper Digital TV, a virtual and full-service video production company with a dedicated team ready to expand your podcast into video. Visit www.prosperdigital.tv or call 718-622-0062 to get started today.
It's funny, I think he did a terrific job. He's an amazing actor. But, I definitely try to cast as much as I can authentic to the roles. And then sometimes it's like anything. With Brownsville Bred, with this first part, we're on a limited budget. I'm trying to depict, the opening of, my family, introduce my family, and so introduce the inciting incident. And then there were two other roles, right? This role that is this dude coming to get some money from my father, and we don't exactly know what for, but we pretty much feel like it's nefarious. It's not good. And then there's another role that's a heroin addict on the street. Then there's another guy that owns a scrap metal shop. Now, the scrap metal dealer shop was actually based on somebody that I knew. It was an old Jewish man. It just made sense that Manny was selling stuff. It was the time. That's who owned it. And so I had those other two roles to cast, and I looked at everybody for it, right? Black, white, everything across everything. It made sense that you either had to be Black or Latino to be in the neighborhood. That just made sense. Unless you own the Chinese restaurant down the block, then you could be Chinese. Or you could be Pakistani if you own the corner, but those are just the truths of the neighborhood, right? So I could have cast one of those characters as Black, but I didn't want to have a Black actor play a nefarious role in Brownsville Bred first out. That's the only person that you're seeing like that. So I'm like, you know what? I'll save that role for this thing when we see that in the second act and this thing, because you have to make choices about who's representing what. And in Brownsville Bred, because it's about a Puerto Rican family, we do have the Puerto Rican family. I actually have some Dominicans playing Puerto Ricans. It's fine by me. But the father who with the big Puerto Rican flag, it would have felt wrong if he wasn't Puerto Rican. And for that, we actually got Javier Munoz, who used to star in Hamilton as Hamilton. So a singer who happens to be a big AIDS activist. He has AIDS. He lives with AIDS. And it was just, I found that out later. And he's actually originally from East New York. The woman playing the abuela, Susana Guzman, she's from Brownsville as well. She's an Emmy-nominated actress from The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I was so glad to see that, like, she even submitted on this. I was like, oh, it's like a no-brainer. And then I got Karina Ortiz to be the mother. She's from Orange is the New Black and Long Road Home. And all these people working on my, indie film that realize the value that they are bringing, that their talent is bringing to my work and into the community, to be seen, to be realized, recognized. So it's really a pleasure to be working with all of them, quite frankly. As a matter of fact, I didn't want anybody to play the heroin addict because it was just, no lines, but it was an important character because the actress playing Elaine was actually looking at this heroin addict. And it's a major thing in the film where she looks at her and she says, oh, that's a junkie. There's a lot of them around here. Papi says you got to stay away from them. She says that it's a voiceover, and she's watching this junkie. I played the junkie. Nobody even recognized me. Remember, what? That was you. My husband didn't even recognize me. So, but I didn't want to ask anybody to play that, and I felt so badly to ask anybody to play that.
You're so intentional. I'm sure they're loving working with you too. I'm sure of it.
I hope so. I really hope so, because there's not a lot that I could give them financially. But I hope that, with every actor and every single thing that I do, I really try to bring out their best performance. I want them to be the best that they can be. And I want to give them a lot of what ifs to work off of so that I don't limit their imagination, but I actually open it in the work that I do as a director. That's really important to me. Is like acting and knowing the art of acting is very helpful. But also knowing the art of directing, you need to have that as well. I'm not afraid to talk to actors because I'm an actor. And I know that I want somebody to tell me that, which you don't get a lot as an actor. They're like, action. And that's it. So
We can talk a lot about the creation of work, right? And having representation in the creation of work. But then there's that other side, the distribution of it. How are you finding the process of having support for the distribution of diverse stories and voices?
So that's really interesting. It's a great question, by the way. As an indie filmmaker, the best path, if you don't know anyone, is always going to be the festival circuit, the film festival circuit. And it's really knowing which ones that you should be trying out for and when you should be trying out for. So as a matter of fact, there are lots of film festivals out there that give workshops, that give advice on this. And I remember some of the ones that I took that were instrumental in me even understanding the festival circuit in the way that I do. The Atlanta Film Festival, which we actually, one of the films that I just produced just won for the second time.
Nice.
So that makes us Oscar qualifying because it's an Oscar qualifying film festival. Yes.
Go ahead,
yes.
flex.
Yes. So anyway, try to submit early submission. It's okay to go to this deadline and that deadline, but I'll tell you what, at late deadline, the viewers, the people judging it, they've already seen a bunch of films. So now you have to beat their favorite films. That was just a piece of advice that they gave me. So now I'm like, I go on filmfreeway.com, I look up the film festivals that I want, and I tell it to send me an alert when that film festival comes out. First day one. And that's exactly what I did with South by Southwest as well. My submission number was like 7.
Wow.
On it.
You get in there.
Yes. Sundance Institute also, and going to the festivals. The festivals have the most incredible panels, and they have some really big people at their panels. So distribution, you have to know all of these things as an indie filmmaker because it's not easy. Jim Cummings at Sundance Institute, at the Collab, he gives an amazing self-distribution talk. And it's available. Like, you guys can just go on collab.sundance.org and it's available. You might have to pay, it might be a part of my thing, but it's available. And he actually talks about how he, for his film Thunder Road, that was a short film that won Sundance, and then he went to go make it into a feature, the deals that they wanted to give him were not going to benefit his investors. And he wanted to benefit his investors because he knew that it wasn't going to be his last movie. He needed those people to jump on board again. And so he started self-distribution. He was like, all those platforms that all of those sales agents have, they're actually available to anyone. All they do is they actually just put it on there. It is hard work. It's very hard work, but you can do it. It's very empowering to know that those things are available, but then also, as I win some awards, as people get to know me a little bit better, as they are liking my work, understanding what it represents besides what it represents.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you that it's easy, but I have conversations. It's feeling better. And there are festivals that actually come with license deals, like the official Latino Film Festival. Winning that, I got Princess Cut on HBO. Yeah.
Coming with next
3
steps.
people got it. And then there are other films that actually the Palante HBO movement actually got more film festivals involved starting this year. They got people who are really committed and know the value, know the importance of representation.
That's next on my list. I saw the trailer for Princess Cut. I was like, wait, I gotta finish this.
There's a whole story behind Princess Cut too, because I was told by the American Film Institute, I came to them with Brownsville Bred and I made it right to the final round of getting in. They only take 8 filmmakers. So I made it right to the final round, meeting with the board and stuff. And I was like, okay, I got this. I know everything about Brownsville Bred. I'm gonna talk to them about it like so succinctly. And then I didn't make it. And they give you 3 months later, they actually say to you, do you want feedback in 3 months? I was like, hell yeah, I want feedback in 3 months. So they gave me the feedback, and the feedback was that it seemed like that was the only story that I wanted to tell. And I was like, should I not be enthusiastic about the film
crazy.
that I'm
It's
trying
like-
to tell through you? I don't
Yeah.
understand that feedback. But I understood the feedback. I took the notes. And I actually, Princess Cut is based on another woman's play that I saw. Not my work. I just saw it. I loved it. It takes place in the Hamptons, a place that I'm familiar with. Everybody from New York should be, right? Probably around the world. But what I learned from it, this writer actually grew up part of the time in the Hamptons. She called it Tumbleweed Tuesday, when from Memorial Day to Labor Day, the Hamptons gets flooded with all the wealth from all over the world. It's like the wealthiest place in the world in the summer. And then after Labor Day, tumbleweeds, because that's their dust. That's the rich people's dust. The only people there are now the gray and blue collar workers. So Princess Cut actually takes place on this night of Tumbleweed Tuesday. The only people there are like the workers that are left and like the stragglers. And it's where 2 women from opposite sides of the economic spectrum, they meet at an all-night laundromat and they actually find common ground. And then one of them ends up dead.
Oh, okay.
Yes. That's
into
the
it.
twist. That's the twist. So I love that twist. I loved it. I went right up to the writer. I was like, I'm a filmmaker, please. Please let me make this as a film. She's like, I'm sorry, but it's actually optioned. The following year, I called her up. I'm in the Hamptons right now. I just so happen to be visiting here for the day. I can't get your play out of my mind. Please,
It's
can I make
Tuesday.
She said, actually, it's being re-upped, the option. It was re-upped. And then the next year, she said, they're not re-upping the option. If you want to make it, I'll let you make it. We got to talk about it. I have to be the writer. I was like,
That's
you
gotta
could
be
be
frustrating
anything you
for her.
want.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? It happened to me too. It happens to me too, right? Because I wrote a 1-hour serialized procedural pilot called The System. Sold it to CBS. Biggest day of my life. They actually paid me to write my own creation. And they paid me a lot. And I love it. I love the story. But they ended up not making it. I believe they did True Lies that it was just last year. Last year or the year before. But it's hard to take a chance on people. And they did. And I was brought to them by an actress that actually went to her and I said, I'm gonna put you on my deck because I think you should star in this. Like, you're the face of this. Like, you embody it. Because she's got so much soul. Her name is Andrea Navarro from Jane the Virgin, and
I love that show too.
she's just an amazing actress. Now she's in A Million Little Things, and we've been friends for so many years. But I always had that faith in her. I used to say to her, Lord, don't give up, because you're right there. I'm telling you, you're gonna pop any second now. You are so talented. You're everything. You just got to keep on going. And she did, and she loved it so much that she was like, can I option this? I was like, Yes, you can.
Wow.
And she brought it to her showrunner, and then we pitched it to CBS, and they bought it at the pitch, right in the room. And it was a virtual room because it was COVID. And that was set in Brownsville. And it's about a social worker who grew up in the foster care system. And now she's helping those families that she kind of used to be. She used to be one of those kids. So she's helping those kids and those families. But the rub is at the end, we find out that she can't actually manage her own child. And she has to send her own child away because her own child is scaring her.
Again, a twist.
Yeah. You gotta make it. You gotta give it a twist. Yeah.
And as you look at Brownsville Bred, have you thought about what avenue you want to take in terms of distribution? Are you looking at, because you mentioned even what investors and there's a lot of avenues and a lot of pitfalls as well. Like, right?
Yes. No, I mean, I have an idea, but I am speaking with some really cool cats that have done it before. It feels good. There's nothing on paper yet, but there's a lot of conversation that feels like a great deal of time is being invested for something that they're not going to actually do. And I realized that the budget that I created, which was done by a wonderful filmmaker who I cast her indie film, producer, Nicole Sylvester. She's amazing. And then she was like, I do this for a living, Elaine. I'm going to do your budget for you. I was like, great. I need two. One for Catalyst Fund and one for this. Is that okay? I'll cast your next movie too. She's like, I got you.
I like that.
So she put my budget into movie magic, gave me the two budgets that I wanted. And then they were line iteming it. And I've realized, wow, you are really looking at this thing, because I'm not really looking at it. Because the way that I make film is like, whatever it needs, okay, it's about that amount. And then if it needs more, I'm gonna just pay less for this. Or, I pay attention to the budgets very much, but I'm usually the one with grants and my own work earnings paying for my films. Princess Cut, nobody paid me for that film until after I won and licensed it. Then they gave me some money for it. And now I'm getting grants for Warner Media 150, gave me a second grant toward Brownsville Bred. They gave me a first grant, so they helped me make it. I got the Sundance Institute and the Knight Foundation gave me a small grant as well. And they loved it so much, Warner Media 150 loved it so much that they were like, we're gonna give you another grant toward the next phase. And that was really amazing, yeah. Yeah, I still need a lot more money. But the problem with the next phase is that the first phase, I actually shot out the girl at 8 years old. So I filmed the 8-year-old part and what happens. Now when she wakes up, when we see her again, she's a teenager. So I cannot shoot in phases anymore. I really have to shoot that teenager out because I can't let her grow up.
Right.
The 8-year-old to the teenager, I could change the person. And I just auditioned a few amazing actresses, and I'm like loving 2 of them. It's like an embarrassment of riches as to where I'm going to go with it. But I'm really excited to show this beautiful protagonist up there. And I'm not talking about physical beauty. I just mean like beautiful inside and what she's going to bring to the table.
We're looking forward to seeing this.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about that subset of your audience? You work a lot with children and spend a lot of time creating things for children, opportunities even. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I'll go into my other job now, right? Because part of my company is I'm a CSA. I just became CSA. CSA is Casting Society of America. It's like you're vetted, right, if you're in this thing. So it's really cool. But I've been a casting director for about 11 years now. Wow. Yeah, maybe 13 years now. And I got the opportunity because somebody saw my one-woman show, and they said, I want to work with you every day, but I can't hire an actor every day, so what else do you do? And I just said, what do you need?
Bring your magic.
What do you need? What do you need? And he just said, do you do casting? Because Spanish language casting was hard to come by. He was a Spanish language advertising agency producer.
Wow. Okay.
So I was like, I could try. And I just learned the art of casting. I mean, I knew what it was like to be in the room, to have the experience of a bad casting director and a bad, just like treatment. Just like, I mean, I used to come from Long Island, remember? And then park my car, pay for that, sometimes have to pay for childcare, and then leave in 2 minutes after waiting for an hour or an hour and 10 minutes. And I knew that I could make a better experience for the actor, at least let the actor feel like it wasn't a waste of their time.
Do you have an audio podcast? Are you looking to grow your audience by expanding into video? Partner with Prosper Digital TV, a virtual and full-service video production company with a dedicated team ready to expand your podcast into video. Visit www.prosperdigital.tv or call 718-622-0062 to get started today.
And so that was really what I was after when I was, and of course, earning a living with this amazing opportunity. That was the door that was open for me. I took it and I've been doing it ever since. I'm a techie. So through search engine optimization and building my own website and stuff like that, people have come to me because they know that I am Spanish language, bilingual. My focus is always to give an opportunity to people of color as well. So even if they are looking for a white character, the main character who's maybe a comedian or comic, I would always say, you know what, I'm not going to take lunch. In this hour, you will see other people. And that's how I would play it. But now I don't have to take lunch because everything's virtual, right? So I just see a lot more people and I just open people's eyes up because they actually like it. They actually love it. They often cast that way. I'm not steering them in any direction. I'm still performing the work that they have asked me to perform and not charging them anything more to expand their horizons. So that's how I built my casting business, and I love it. And it's still, I don't want to say still my bread and butter, because I do get paid now as a writer and director, but it's still a major part of my business that I cherish. You go somewhere and people know you, all the Latino actors know you, like people know you because they want to get cast. But no, the power is actually in presenting and opening up the opportunity. So it's cool. I don't want to let it go. I love it. If anything, I'll just have more help helping me to achieve it.
I'm so impressed.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was just the impact of, because you were a young mother. I want to just talk about that experience and the impact it had in your life and making you who you are.
Oh, Lord. Where to begin? Well, now my daughter is actually 31. So it was a long time ago now. I was married when I was 18. Had my daughter before I was 20. Got divorced by the time I was 23. It was only after my divorce that I actually started to go after my dreams. I always say when my daughter started school, that's when I started school.
Look at that.
I went to community college and I was studying all kinds of things, acting, psychology, screenwriting. And my acting teacher said, you need to be studying in Manhattan. You're wasting your time here. And that's what made me start studying acting in Manhattan, because I just wanted to get a degree. Because I still feel every time I go up for these, big opportunities and I look at the work that's being done by people who I really respect, who I often am, I won't say competing, forget about that word. I'm presenting and I'm one of the options. So the people who are near me doing great work, they have MFAs from here and this. I still feel like that really hurts me. So I really want to encourage people to continue to go to school and really finish. It wasn't something that was like when we were growing up in Brownsville, if you finished high school, you were doing good. And then after that, you pretty much had to get a city job. That was the way that it was. Our expectations were not put to that level. If you're not getting that bar from somebody else that you have to get to, you need to create that for yourself. You need to get that. You need to do it because people will look at that and say, this is a person who finishes. Now I look at people, they got full boats to places, to Pratt Institute, to NYU. I'm like, full boat ride, like a full scholarship. I could have done that. I didn't even know that it was available. And this is why we really need to understand what's available. There's so much opportunity out there.
That's a message. That's a wonderful nugget.
Yeah.
I mean, you're here in the right
Yeah,
place.
that's a good nugget. Stay in school.
She's like, oh, I'm a teacher. You talking to me? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm saying that every time. Stay in school. Do your
Stay in
homework.
school,
Matter of
yes.
fact, where's your homework?
Yes. I still, I'm still learning. I'm right now, I take classes at the Sundance Institute. That's actually how I wrote my pilot. I took an episodic writing class. And now I have another idea, new idea that's formulating in my heart. And I'm like, I got to get this into a pilot. So I'm retaking the class. I'm constantly a student of these things and all these programs. AFI, okay, I didn't make it in. What's your reading list? I read every single book. And now I tell people that and they're like, can you give me the reading list? Yes, here it is. I want to say one more thing because you said to me about being a mom.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So one of the things that, people say, what are the success points in your life? For me, it was my daughter graduating without debt. Me affording her school without debt. That's a major milestone for me in my life. now she runs a program. We started out this conversation about her Carnegie Mellon grant that she just got. She said to me, I can't do on this day, Mom. I got to teach the class. Well, what class? Well, I'm facilitating, Mom. I'm facilitating. I'm making sure that people come in to teach. I was like, oh, tell my friend a little bit more about that. And they're building like hydroponic farms and stuff like that. So that's part of a story that I'm writing as well, about what she's doing. And I say, like, I never finished college, but somehow I'm teaching at them.
Look at that.
Somehow I'm teaching at Emerson College. It's really, I wish I could get an honorary degree.
It's coming.
Or somebody give me an honorary degree.
Don't worry, it's coming.
There's no colleges in Brownsville.
Don't worry, it's coming. It's coming.
They're honored to learn from you. I know that's right.
Why was it both graduating without debt? What was it? It was both, because it could have just been one, just the graduating part.
Yeah, no, without debt, because so many students go into debt, right, to make their dreams come true. And for me, a big part of not going to school was feeling like I could never afford it. You just are raised in this mindset of like poverty. Films have themes, and every scene has to work into that theme in order for it to make sense to the audience, and for the audience to go on a journey, and for the filmmaker not to lose sight of what it is that she's actually trying to say, along with all the story and all of that. In Brownsville Bred, what I'm revealing are actually the pitfalls of generational poverty. I want people to see them, to understand them, to know them. Not just the people who might be offering opportunities, but the people who are living them. Because if you can see it, then you might be able to avoid it.
Right, bringing that awareness, yes.
Yeah, that's super exciting to me. That's the most important thing about Brownsville Bred. All those people from Langston Hughes Projects could see it and say, okay, I'm definitely not gonna do that. I definitely gotta watch out for this. And there are so many things that are circumstantial from just being there. There's just, and that's not good for a story. It can't be coincidence. It has to be, some things are coincidence, but, for a film, you really need more than that. Otherwise, you're going to be like, how could that happen?
For you, what would you say for you were those pitfalls that led to generational poverty?
It's not just for me, right? It's for everybody.
Yeah.
Pitfalls of generational poverty. Parents who aren't educated, right? Parents don't go to college. Likely you're not going to go to college, right? You grow up with shame because you're dependent on welfare. I know now there's no food stamps. Now it's a card. But back then, those food stamps, that was a major shame. Ask somebody where they live. I know you don't want to come to my neighborhood. You probably know it. You've probably seen it in the news. And now you're going to judge me based on that, right? There's inherent shame. And then there's your friends. Right? You are who your friends are. And so, I'm standing at a bus stop, taking a bus to get to school, and the girl who's with me, I find out she got a baby. She got a baby. She's 13 years old. Who's the baby for daddy? He's like 45 or 50. So these are the things that are just around you. We were filming, I don't even want to say shooting in Brownsville, Lord forbid. Right? But we were filming in Brownsville, and there must have been a shooting just then because there was a wreath with the candles and everything. And my brother was there, and he's like, Elaine, look over there. I was like, oh, Lord, we got to get out of here before dark because there might be a retaliation any minute now. So those things, not feeling safe. It's a major obstacle in life, not feeling safe. You can't go outside. You can't play with your friends. It's a whole other thing. Your parents are on drugs. So now, maybe that's a good lesson. Maybe you don't even want to take a drink now. And if your kid is experimenting with pot, you're like, oh my God. Right? So now you're thinking all these things, every experience is informing your next decision. You have to psychoanalyze your own decisions to say, is this why I'm doing that? You cannot draw my blood without me okay, hold on a second. I gotta warm up my arms. I look at my phone, talk to me. Dude, I'm having a freaking panic attack just from the thought of a needle going inside of me. And then my veins actually move and stop giving blood. And then I start to pass out. It's a real thing. And there's some real traumatic, there's some real trauma that is whatever your experiences are. The pitfalls of generational poverty, people getting beaten in front of you. My mother was a child that was beaten every single day of her life for doing nothing. So they all, of course, got married super early just to get out of the house. And they usually got married to somebody who was abusive like their father. My mother got married to an abusive man, left her with 3 children. Actually, he left her with 2, and then he came back to rape her for the 3rd. You know? And I mean, but she loves all of us equally. And then she was alone raising these children with a mentally abusive mother, an absent abusive, physically abusive father. I mean, physical, like punching, hitting, belts, everything. They worried about their life. And then the other day, I could play a video for you right now. I was at a barbecue at my brother's house, and I said, what's this? I asked my aunt, what's this thing about grandma? She tried to commit suicide, right? She jumped out of the window. My aunt, plain as day, no. She drank the Clorox, but she didn't know. She didn't know that it was going to kill her. I was like, are you listening to yourself?
Do you hear that? Right.
Yeah, do you
that's
hear
wild.
it? Yeah, so it's a lot of stories out there that's, but you're coming from that hopeless feeling.
Hopelessness.
And a big part of Brownsville is the hope, because we got to make the audience understand that there's hope. There's hope. You got to hope for the girl, and you got to hope for the father. And if you're not hoping for them, then it's not working. So those are the things that I try to put into the writing and into the directing of Brownsville Bred, into the visual story of Brownsville Bred as well.
It's autobiographical.
Yes.
So which means that all these things you talked about are things that reflective in your life.
Yes.
What was it for you that kept you looking forward, that kept you dreaming?
I think everybody needs to answer that question for themselves and make it that they formulate purpose from their pain. Because I could sit here and say, oh, there was a school teacher that did a play that made me feel for the first time that I mattered, something that I did mattered. That was one thing. That was my mother saying, oh, God, please, if I just hit the lotto. my mother believing.
I still do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Win that lotto,
But
man.
my mother was always like, she would cry a lot. Like she would cry a lot and just break down a lot. But then there were other times that she was always like the Dear Abby of the neighborhood, and taking people at the window and just talking to them and trying to make them feel better about their situation. Though you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. So my mother always had that. My father, he was amazing. He was a very talented musician. He had all kinds of swag. He was dancing, singing all over the place. And he really had so much joy, So it might be that it's just a part of me because I'm a part of them. Another big debate that we do in the film that I explore deeply is nature versus nurture. And one of the first lines that's out there, she says, Titi, the teachers aren't going to care about this. They just need it to be uniquely me. I just have to do something uniquely me. And she says, what does that have to do with where you live? And the question is never answered. The little girl is just like, and then mom says, like, hey, go upstairs, But the question is posed. What does you, uniquely you, have to do with where you live? Does it? Because the whole time the girl feels really bad about the fact that, see, what was really important about the story that I just said about my mother and the other 3 kids, I was her 4th kid by Manny. By my father. I was the only one from my father. So it's very important to show why this affects that child more than the others. Certainly the others were affected as well. And my brothers and my sisters don't feel like my half brothers and sisters. They're my whole brothers and sisters.
I hear that.
But why in this story does this affect this child as much as it does? And so it's the truth, but we really built it into the story that the audience was uniquely aware of the fact that she feels very much like these things that are happening are in part her fault. Because she is the tie between all of them. Right?
Right.
She's the little sister, the daughter of both the parents. So those things were really important to spell out in the film. It's really great to be able to make work that you can lend so much to.
Wow, Elaine, we can I can see the battery in your back. Like it is wonderful to just vibe off of your energy.
Thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Before you go, is there a nugget you'd like to leave on the table for our audience?
Oh my Lord, didn't I give enough nuggets?
Oh, you sure did.
You did.
I
You
went out of
did.
paper nugget, but yeah,
I
you
have
sure
so
did.
many nuggets. Well, I'll leave you with my favorite quote. I'm going to mess this up a little bit. So it's Margaret Thatcher. Look it up. Think of a day when you were supremely satisfied. And then think, was it a day that you had nothing to do and just like lounged around? Or was it a day that you had everything to do and you did it? Just answer that question for yourself, right? Think of a day that you were supremely satisfied and go after supreme satisfaction.
So before we let you go, I tell the audience where they can find you, follow you. This is your chance to plug.
So you can definitely follow me on Instagram at Elaine Del Valle Director. I highly recommend reading my book, which is actually now being taught in schools. I actually adapted the Brownsville Bred stage play as a young adult novel, and I'm always working on something.
Always
So-
working on something. I
That's
like
for
that.
sure.
There's always going to be something next.
Thank you so much. And that's our show. Thank you so much, Elaine. This has
Thank you
been
so much for
awesome.
having me. This was
Thank
so
you.
great.